I knew hitchhiking was a bad idea, but sometimes you have no other choice. It was late at night and I was far from the city center. I had been out with my friends, had a few drinks, and my phone battery was completely dead. I had no way to get home. Walking back, especially through this deserted area, would take hours. So, I stood by the roadside and started hitchhiking. For a long time, no one stopped. The few cars that passed sped up when they saw me, driving away as quickly as possible. No one wanted to pick up a stranger standing on the road in the middle of the night. But finally, a pickup truck with its headlights piercing through the darkness slowed down. It was an old but sturdy-looking model. The driver rolled down the window. Inside, a man was sitting, wearing a red jacket. He looked me up and down, a wide, exaggerated smile stretching across his face. "Going somewhere?" he asked. "Could you take me to the city center?" I asked. He tilted his head slightly and opened the door. "Sure, hop in." Every instinct in my body screamed against it, but it was freezing, and I could barely feel my feet. Pushing aside my gut feeling, I got in, eager to get home faster. The moment I shut the door, a strange smell filled my nose. Damp cloth, old metal, and something moldy. As the truck started moving, the man stayed silent for a while. He simply stared at the road ahead. Then he spoke. "Hitchhiking this late is dangerous," he said. "Some people never make it home." He said it like a joke, but some jokes hold too much truth. It felt like he had experienced it before, or worse, made others experience it. I noticed him watching me through the rearview mirror. His eyes never left the road, yet I could feel him observing me. A deep unease settled in my chest. My hand slipped into my pocket, searching for my phone. But my pocket was empty. Where was my phone? I glanced sideways, expecting to see my bag where I had set it down, but it was gone too. My heart pounded. I must have left it at the party. But then I noticed something. The man's left hand was gripping the steering wheel, but his right hand was tucked under his thigh, as if he was hiding something. Then my eyes caught something in the glove compartment. It was slightly open. And when I saw what was inside, my blood ran cold. Jewelry, women's jewelry, and phones. Too many phones. This wasn't a coincidence. This man had picked up hitchhikers before. And those phones, they had never been returned to their owners. Unless I was imagining things. Maybe I was. Every nerve in my body was on high alert. I had to get out. Immediately. But how? The man was watching me closely, subtly grinning. His hidden hand was now free, and with it, he started tapping the steering wheel. Like he was trying to scare me, or trying to gauge my fear. "Hey, why so quiet?" he asked. My throat was dry. "I'm just tired," I murmured. He nodded. "I get it. You're tired, but soon you'll wake up." What did he mean? Panic was rising. Should I jump out and run? But we were going too fast. Jumping out could be deadly. I needed to act. "Can I get some water?" I asked, pointing toward the glove compartment. I wanted to see how he would react when I directed his attention there. The man smiled. "Of course," he said. But he didn't reach for the glove compartment. Instead, he leaned down and pulled out a bottle from under his seat. And that's when I saw it. The knife. It was wedged into the side of his seat. The sharp, glistening edge was visible even in the dark. I knew now. I had to escape. But I had no plan. With a burst of courage, my left hand crept toward the door handle. At that moment, the man sped up, the engine roaring. Had he sensed me? But I couldn't give up. I yanked the door open and with all my strength threw myself out. As I tumbled, my shoulder hit the ground hard, but I scrambled to my feet and ran straight into the forest. Behind me, the sound of screeching brakes pierced through the silence. "Come back here," he yelled. But I didn't look back. I ran. My legs burned. My lungs screamed, but I never stopped. Minutes later, I saw the headlights of another car on the road. Desperate, I ran out and waved. This time, I got lucky. A couple stopped and let me in. They took me straight to the police. I told them everything. The red jacket, the jewelry in the glove compartment, the knife. But what scared me most was what the officer said. "A man in a red jacket?" the officer asked. "We've been tracking someone for years. He's targeted women on the road before. He could be responsible for at least 5 disappearances." Then he added, "So far, no one has escaped him. Before you, only one other person managed to get away." My breath caught. "What happened to her?" I asked. The officer hesitated, his face tense. "We don't know. She disappeared too." That's when I realized escaping didn't mean I was safe. A few weeks later, I stood by my window late at night, unable to sleep. A pickup truck turned onto my street. It stopped right in front of my house, and from inside, a man in a red jacket stepped out. He lifted his head, looked straight at me. As I froze, he took slow, deliberate steps toward my door. And then, he stopped. He stood there for a while, waiting. Then, as if nothing had happened, he turned around, got back into the truck, and drove away. But nothing was ever the same after that night. And I know that one day that man will find me. And when that day comes, it will be too late. My name is Nathan, and because of what I'm about to tell you, I still can't sleep at night. It was another late night at the university library. As I was driving home, my gas was running low on a deserted highway just past midnight. Praying that I would make it to the nearest gas station, I suddenly noticed something on the side of the road. At first, I didn't pay much attention, but as I looked closer, I saw a man with a large backpack, raising his hand. He was hitchhiking. Normally, I would never stop, especially at this hour on an empty road. But he looked just like any other backpacker. Messy hair, a worn-out jacket, and a large bag slung over his shoulders. He seemed like someone stranded in the middle of a long journey. I slowed down and rolled my window down just a bit. "Where are you headed?" I asked. The man gave me a slight smile. "If you're going toward the city, could you give me a lift?" I hesitated for a moment. It was late, the highway was silent, but the guy didn't seem threatening. "All right, get in," I said. He opened the back door and tossed his backpack inside before settling into the front seat. "Thanks, man," he said. "People are too scared to stop at night." I chuckled. "Well, they have a point. What's your name?" he asked. Something inside me didn't want to answer, but before I could stop myself, I said, "Nathan." He nodded. "I'm Mark. I really appreciate this." When we finally reached the gas station, I stepped out to fill the tank while Mark rummaged through his backpack in the back seat. He was looking for something, but I tried not to pay attention. "Do you want anything from inside?" I asked. "Nah, I'm good," he replied, avoiding eye contact. I walked into the station, paid for the gas, grabbed a coffee, and got back into the car. Mark was staring out the window. His face looked pale. "You all right?" I asked. He turned toward me and gave a weak smile. Yeah, let's just go." I started the engine and we got back on the road. But after a few miles, Mark began acting strange. He rubbed his hands on his knees, intertwined his fingers tightly, and kept his gaze locked on the road ahead. There was silence for a while. Then he spoke. "Nathan." I had gotten so used to the quiet that the sound of his voice made me jump. "Yeah?" He took a deep breath. "Take that right turn." I frowned. "What? Why?" "Turn onto the forest road. It's a shortcut," he said. A shiver ran down my spine. "No, I'm staying on the highway," I said firmly. Mark shook his head slowly. "I need to get to the city, Nathan, but some roads are safer than others." Something inside me screamed at me to run. "What do you mean?" I asked. He didn't answer. He just stared straight ahead, clenching his fists. Then something happened. He reached into the back, opening his backpack. I kept my eyes on the road, but in the rearview mirror, I saw something glint in the dim light. "Dude, what are you doing?" I asked. I thought it was a knife. Mark pulled out a gun. "Have you ever killed someone, Nathan?" he asked. Every drop of blood in my body went cold. "What?" I slammed on the brakes. The car skidded. I was about to open the door and bolt, but Mark raised the gun. "Don't!" he shouted. At that moment, bright headlights appeared behind us. A truck was approaching fast. The horn blared. Mark froze. I took my chance. I flung the door open and threw myself out. I rolled onto the roadside gravel. The truck came to a stop. The driver jumped out, shouting, "What the hell is going on?" But Mark was gone. The car was still there. His backpack, his gun, his map, everything was still there. But Mark had disappeared. When the police arrived, I told them everything. They searched the car, checked the bag. Inside, they found old clothes, some food. But the most terrifying thing, they found a notebook. And inside, my name was written. Not just my name. There were dozens of names, all crossed out with dates next to them. One of the officers turned pale as he flipped through the pages. "We've been looking for this guy for a long time," he muttered. A deep fear settled in my chest. "Who is he?" I asked. The officer closed the notebook, his face grave. "We don't know his real name, but we call him the Highway Hunter. No one knows where he came from. No real ID, no clear photos. But for the past 10 years, he's been linked to multiple missing persons cases along these roads." I swallowed hard. I had given a ride to a serial killer. Every second that passed without him being caught felt like I was in danger. Who was this man, and why did he want to kill me? Maybe he didn't even know me. Maybe he just killed for sport. My heart wasn't racing because of the encounter itself anymore. It was racing because I knew something terrifying. What if he came back? The police found him in the woods not long after. He had slipped out of the car and run toward the trees during the chaos. But even though he was caught, I haven't stopped locking my doors at night. I still wake up from nightmares, and the thought that one day he might come back for me. That's what keeps me up at night. Hitchhiking across America. Sounds like a dream, right? I had wanted to do this for a long time. Along the way, I would meet different people, see new towns, and experience the adventures that life had in store for me. But nothing went as I had imagined. I started in Texas. In my backpack, I had a few pieces of clothing, some food, and a knife. Some of my friends had told me to take a knife with me. "You never know what might happen," they said. But as always, I just laughed it off. The first few days went smoothly. Ordinary people picked me up, we had ordinary conversations. A truck driver even bought me a sandwich. But then, things started to change. One night, it was already pitch dark, and the road was completely deserted. A few cars had passed, but none of them stopped. I was starting to lose hope when an old model car slowed down and pulled over in front of me. When the window rolled down, I saw that the driver was an older man. He asked where I was going in a low voice, then gestured toward the back seat. "Hop in, there's room in the back." As I climbed in, I noticed there was another passenger in the back. I nodded, slightly in greeting, but he didn't respond. He had his face buried deep in the hood of his jacket, almost as if he was hiding. The ride was mostly silent. The driver occasionally asked short questions, and I gave short answers. After a while, the man in the back leaned slightly toward me and whispered, "At the next stop, don't get out of the car." At first, I thought I had misheard him, but he looked dead serious. A chill ran down my spine. I didn't know what to do, but the uncertainty was unbearable. Summoning my courage, I leaned forward slightly and said to the driver, "Excuse me," but the guy in the back just gave me a strange warning. He told me not to get out of the car at the next stop. Is there something wrong?" As soon as I said that, the driver's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, and his expression suddenly changed. His brow furrowed, and he quickly slammed on the brakes, pulling the car over to the side of the road. My heart pounded. I could feel the man in the back tense up. His hands started moving as if he was searching for something in his pockets. The driver's voice turned sharp. "What the hell are you trying to do?" He shouted at the man in the back. The man in the back shot back with equal anger. "The real question is, what the hell are you trying to do? Who were you planning to kill this time? I won't let you." Hearing those words, my hands started shaking. I reached into my pocket and tried to quietly pull out my phone to call the police. Tension filled the car. The two men were now yelling at each other. Before I could even bring my phone to my ear, the driver suddenly turned toward me and shouted, "Hey! What are you doing? Who are you calling?" I nearly had a heart attack. At that moment, the man in the back lunged forward and grabbed the driver's arm, shouting, "Don't touch him! I won't let you do it again!" Everything turned into chaos. My phone slipped from my hand and fell to the floor. I scrambled to pick it up, my hands trembling. My heartbeat was deafening in my ears. As soon as I grabbed the phone, I threw myself toward the car door. I flung it open and jumped out. Just as I was about to run, a single gunshot echoed behind me. I froze. My ears rang. Slowly, I turned my head and looked at the car. The struggle inside had stopped. Silence filled the air. Then the car door creaked open, and the driver's lifeless body tumbled out onto the pavement. The man in the back was holding a gun, his hand shaking. Smoke was still rising from the barrel. "I didn't want to do it," he mumbled. "I had no choice. I had to save you." His face was a mix of fear and desperation. Our eyes met, and I didn't know what to do. The police were still on the line, and in the distance, I could hear sirens approaching. When the police arrived, the man didn't resist. He raised his hands and surrendered. The driver lay motionless in a pool of blood. They took us both into custody, sitting in a small, dimly lit interrogation room. I couldn't make sense of anything. Who was telling the truth? Who was the real criminal? What had I gotten myself into? After a while, a police officer walked in and sat across from me. He studied my face carefully. "Tell me what happened tonight." With shaky hands, I held onto a glass of water and told him everything. That I was hitchhiking, that the old man had picked me up, that the guy in the back had warned me, how the argument broke out, and how it ended with the driver getting shot. The officer listened in silence. Then, he closed his notebook and leaned in slightly. "Aren't you curious why that man helped you?" he asked. My throat went dry. I don't know. I didn't even know him. He just warned me, and then everything happened so fast. The officer leaned back in his chair, pulled out some papers, and slid them toward me. "I thought you might want to know," he said. The man in the back told us everything. I swallowed hard and waited for him to continue. "The driver and that man used to work together," the officer said. "They would pick up hitchhikers on certain roads and then sacrifice them." I felt a shiver crawl down my spine. "Sacrifice? What do you mean?" The officer sighed. "The driver believed in some kind of ritual. He thought he was finding chosen ones and offering them to God. But the man in the back, he didn't want to do it anymore, so this time he decided to stop it." My stomach twisted. "So, the guy also killed people before?" I asked. The officer nodded slowly. "Yes, but according to him, he was only the assistant. The real mastermind was the driver, and lately he had been looking for a way out. When he met you, he saw an opportunity." I could barely breathe. "So what happens now?" I asked. The officer closed the file. He confessed to his crimes and admitted to killing the driver. But since he cooperated with the police, he'll likely get a reduced sentence, probably 20 to 30 years. Whether he serves the full term, we'll see. But as for you, you're free to go. I collapsed back into my chair. The officer stood up and gestured toward the door. I got up slowly. My legs felt like they were made of concrete. As I walked out of the station, a strange feeling settled in my chest. I had survived, but there was no way I would ever forget what happened. Hitchhiking across America, never again. Do you have a real-life horror story to share? Tell us your terrifying experience, and we might bring it to life in our next video. Send your true horror stories to the email in the description, and your story could be featured soon.